Live. My name is Darryl Woodhouse. Welcome and thank you for joining this live event today. And obviously, if you're watching this later on the recording, that's all good and you are very welcome too. Very quick intro to myself. If you're not familiar with myself and my work, I've got a bit of a varied career and experience from an earlier corporate leadership career through to starting and scaling my own business, which I started 12 years ago in 2012. Very much someone who believes today in life-work balance and family and friends. So you can see the cute picture here from our last Christmas with my wife, our 4 children, and of course the world-famous Father Christmas. I have an organisation called Advantage Business Partnerships Limited. This is a company I started in 2012. And then from that, I trade with several different brands, one of which is Darryl Woodhouse. And through the Darryl Woodhouse brand, I do various keynote talks. I do workshops for companies. I do one-to-one coaching. I do leadership development programs. And something that's really hot right now, which is why we're all here today for this session, is work-related stress and overworking. And I found a little area where there aren't many people talking about this or providing solutions for it. And to explain that, there are lots of amazing well-being experts and well-being companies out there right now that are helping organizations, helping individuals, helping workforces. And many of these are becoming my friends and we're working very closely together. Now, a lot of these well-being experts do some very critical work helping ease the symptoms of stress, especially around work-related stress, certainly in my world anyway. Now, my work comes in to actually call out the causes of work-related stress and to actually prevent them happening in the first place or significantly reduce their occurrence. So it's prevention, working with wellbeing experts who also help ease those symptoms. And I've developed this method over the years, which involves actually growing the performance of an individual, a team, or an entire workforce, but without enduring significant stress for long hours, weeks, months, or even years, and without overworking. And a lot of this comes from real experience. I've had some great successes in my career, but I wasn't necessarily nailing it in my personal life. And I had a big burnout in 2016. And that occurred from a couple of key things. One was it was building up over a long period of time from adopting and following that overworking long hours culture that exists typically or more commonly in the corporate world. So that's where I kind of picked that up from. And then I carried that into starting and scaling my own business. I carried on those unhealthy habits. I still remember today, and if he's on this session, if he's listening, you'll know who you are. And he said, Darryl, if you want to get ahead, if you really are ambitious, if you want to keep working your way up the career ladder, if you want to be successful, you've got to suck up the stress and you've got to put the hours in. So as a young chap in my 20s then, I was perhaps naive, immature, and I just went with that. And I thought that I could cope by doing fitness, by having some holidays, that kind of stuff. But it was when something went wrong in my private life in 2016, something that can happen to any one of us at any time. You can't plan for it. You can't avoid it if it's going to happen. Then that really was enough to then tip me over the edge and push me into a very serious burnout. And we won't go into too much detail about that now, but we might do a bit more in the live Q&A session a little bit later. But essentially, I have a number of medical conditions now that I have to manage and treat daily for the rest of my life. So I've now channeled these as daily reminders to stop the overworking and not let those old habits creep back in, but also as motivation to raise awareness of mental health, of burnout, share my experiences, help others to learn from my mistakes. But then I also obviously provide solutions on how you can have that great life-work balance with much less stress while still growing your performance at work, growing your career, growing your business, having a bigger impact in the success and the growth of your organization. And that's where I kind of sit today. That's where I specialize. Now, the format of today, if you're familiar with the overview that we've been advertising over the last few weeks, this is what you can expect. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the hard truths of overworking and inefficiency, and I've sown a few seeds on that today already. And we're going to then look at a high performance improvement and burnout prevention method. And then that feeds us nicely into the really actionable part of today. Yes, it's a free session, but I want you to get real value, stuff that I know you can implement straight away and have an instant impact to reduce stress, reduce overworking, and improve your productivity, improve your performance. If you then go and share that with your colleagues or your team or your line reports or even across your whole organization, there's an even bigger multiplier effect in the gains that can be made. It's one thing doing this at individual level, but the real transformation is when a whole team or whole workforce does it. That's where there's a lot more fun and a lot more money to be made. And at the end, we will do a very quick introduction to my high performance leadership program. And this is one of the products I have, which is giving leaders, managers of people, giving entire workforces the knowledge and the tools and the simple step-by-steps to achieve exactly what we're talking about here. Getting rid of work-related stress, improving life-work balance, cutting out the overworking, but while still growing the business, growing our performance and being successful. And we also have a very dear friend of mine, Russ Davey. He's with us today. He's been a bit of a lifesaver in the background, helping with some technical logistics for today. And Russ is going to lead our Q&A session later on. So thank you, Russ. And we'll bring Russ in a little bit later. And a few of you have sent some questions in already, which is fantastic. So we'll try and cover off those, and we'll try and cover some of the live ones, as many as possible as we have time for. So let's go into some of this content and education. And it starts with raising awareness. Like, well, when we're overworking, when we're enduring frequent stress for too many hours, for too many weeks, too many months, too many years, and I did this for 15 years leading up to my burnout, right? We're now being blessed with more and more research that shows us that this stuff is not very sensible in the long run, and it doesn't get the best results. It doesn't get the best performance, the best productivity. So you can see on the screen here just a couple of examples of what we are choosing to do to our own health and our own well-being on a permanent long-term basis. And this is just from a study which is just looking at the risk of working 50 hours plus per week. That's not a massive amount more than 40 hours a week if you're on a normal full-time job or normal full-time contract. But there's a hell of a lot of people that are doing this. And from some of my own research, and we found that 90% of leaders and managers of people were having a medium to high concern of burnout in themselves and those around them at work. And 39% of those confessed to overworking, working more than 50 hours a week. So this is a large part of the global population of hardworking people that are damaging their long-term health and possibly causing some short-term health issues. They're not having as much fun. They're not living their one life as best as they could, but also they're not being as productive as they could be. And this is what we're going to shine the spotlight on today. And then, burnout. We all know it's a topic that's more commonly talked about now. There's different levels of burnout. There's more serious examples of it, such as what I've been through and come back from. And there's lots of mild cases. And whether it's a mild or a major, it's still not nice to have. And everyone's different. Everyone's body, their mind reacts differently. So it is quite a complex topic. But look, 77%, according to Deloitte, 77% experiencing burnout worldwide. So now we just shift our focus to what are we missing out on? We've dropped a few hints on this already, but from some great research studies that have come out very recently, these are some of the top themes, the top activities that we are choosing to sacrifice to work too hard, to work too many hours, by putting work before our lives rather than having a bit more of a balance. So not taking the holiday, the annual leave that we're entitled to, cutting holidays short, or working through our holidays, taking our laptops, our work phones with us to another country, and then not actually being fully present with our family and friends on the break, and not actually getting to properly switch off and have that important recovery to be the best version of ourselves in life and in work. There's a lot of people out there who have wanted to adopt a pet for friendship, companionship, responsibility, exercise, and they've not been able to, or felt they couldn't, because of the overworking, because of the job pressures and the work-related stress, the long hours and the never-ending to-do lists. Then you've got family time, romantic relationships are suffering, sleep quality and quantity as well of sleep is being sacrificed, and starting a family. Now we bring into some of the commercial reasons. So these are we've covered some of the emotional reasons why we should improve our life-work balance and tackle work-related stress and overworking. But let's look at the ROI, the business, the commercial ROI. Look at this one in the middle on the right of the screen. Employees who overwork and experience chronic fatigue can lose 4.5 times the productivity of well-rested workers. That's just one of a whole abundance of statistics and case studies we now have that show us this is the smarter way of working. Now let's talk about the cost. Here's just a couple of examples. 15 million work days in the UK are being lost to work-related stress absence, which is in the UK a cost of £5 billion per year. In America, we've got some similar studies, one from the American Psychological Association. $500 billion is the cost of work-related stress. So fixing this is an industry in itself, and we're not even scratching the surface with making a dent in coming into it, because there's not enough people actually calling this out and helping with it. This is why I'm kind of blessed in the position I'm in now, because I've got these solutions and I can help people and I'm passionate about it. And then look at this, organizations with low employee engagement. Engagement is a big piece that is linked with work-related stress, with productivity, with poor staff retention. But 18% lower productivity, 16% lower profitability, 65% lower share price. We can't hide from these, but these are on a positive note, these are the gains we can make by taking action and doing things differently, doing things better for ourselves and better for our colleagues and our organizations. Now, there's lots of different causes of work-related stress. We won't have time to go into all of them today. We've just picked out the top 5. And this is from the Workplace Health Report, which is a fascinating read if you've not seen it yet. If colour is an issue, it's the top row against each of the 5 points. It's the top row that is the stat or the percentage from 2023. And then the row beneath it is comparing it to 2022's number. So very current, very up-to-date numbers. You can see we've got some growth in a couple of those, and some have retracted a little bit. And then you jump over to the right of the screen, you've got some of my own research. 91% of my audience, of leaders, managers, entrepreneurs from small companies and large corporates around the world, they said that they're, as a whole, generally speaking, their work meeting could be better and shorter. 29% said that their meetings are actually draining with much room to improve. Now, we're going to give you some amazingly simple but powerful actionable advice on this if you stick around just a little bit longer. And I'm going to give you my own blueprint to how you can have meetings that are much shorter, much better, more productive, more energizing. They boost engagement, they boost teamwork, they reduce our working hours, and so much more. And I've done this and tested it with a number of individuals and organizations now, so I know that this works. And then, we talk about the cost, the impact personally and professionally for individuals and organizations of not tackling work-related stress. In other research, 53% of organizations do not have a stress reduction strategy. Wow. Yeah, they've got a strategy, but there's nothing in there that covers how can we actively identify the work-related stress in our workplace and what can we do to mitigate, to remove, to eliminate it in ways that looks after our employee well-being, drives up engagement, and proactively drives up our performance and productivity. So everyone's a winner. I'm here today to help educate and show you a smoother journey, an easier way of living and working. One of the really important key tools that I'm going to be giving away today and sharing with you. It's quite simple and quick to implement. This comes from my experience of seeing over a number of years now, or more than 2 decades, how the vast majority of organizations, when they're doing business planning, when they're doing a strategy audit, when they're doing personal improvement plans or appraisals even at individual level, there's a significant and typically only focus on weaknesses. What are our or your weaknesses, and what are we doing to fix them? How can we remove them? How can we stop them being weaknesses? And that's important because these are genuine risks and threats to our livelihoods, to our businesses, to our performance, our careers. However, there's a massive opportunity we are missing, and I'll come on to that on the next slide. Yes, we need to be focusing on weaknesses, but we also need to be leveraging, here's the hint to what's to come, we need to be leveraging our strengths better. I'm going to show you the process on how we can do that to actually transform our results, reduce stress, and reduce overworking. Now, there's another key element on the right of the screen here about having a short-term cost-saving mindset. Now, 77% of leaders have confessed, have shared that they and their organizations are typically making key business decisions and key investment in people decisions, focusing on saving money in the short term and not actually looking at longer term. What do I mean by that? Right, well, okay, yeah, there's some short-term cost here of investing in our people and providing better training for reducing work-related stress, for improving life-work balance, for improving our productivity and time management skills to get more done in less time. Yes, absolutely. And that's good. It's important to look at all this stuff. Like, what is the cost of doing that now? But what's the gain? What's the gain for the medium to longer term? If we can do a pros and cons or a cost benefit analysis, and we can find out roughly by working as a team, by bringing different representation from across the business, different expertise, different opinions, different perspectives, we can actually cost value analyze, and we're going to make more money. We're going to be more successful, a more robust, sustainable organization. If we invest this money now, then our decision is we should do it, and we should push that short-term cost-saving mindset out of the way. Now, of course, if we're not sure what the long-term impact can be after having the discussions, having the research, getting the consultancy, the advice, whatever we need, and if we are still unsure if there's going to be a long-term return on investment, then of course that's the decision made up. We don't do it. We don't take up that initiative. We don't spend that money. But 77% of organizations are not even considering what the longer-term gains are. They're too stuck in the business, being reactive, short-term, day-to-day, focusing on quite negative cost saving. This is a massive opportunity. So now we're going to go into some more of the actionable practical advice before we come into the Q&A. And as you'll have seen, the topic of this session was about unlocking growth, reducing overworking, and smashing stress. I'm talking about not eliminating it completely, because there is such a thing, of course, as called healthy stress, but getting rid of that unnecessary, excessive, and health-impacting stress. So the first tool, this is amazing because it improves performance, it helps us achieve more with less, and it massively helps prevent burnout. And this is something that I created myself since coming back from my burnout. So I wish I had this like 20 years ago, but hey, such is life. But now I'm here and I can share it with yourselves, and I can tell you how it's worked for so many organizations. So we touched on it earlier. 83% of organizations are focusing on weaknesses and not giving enough airtime and focus and recognition to strengths. What are our strengths and how can we leverage them more? So you've got 3 key steps in the trio. The first one is thinking about your strengths as an individual right now. Thinking about your strengths. What could you do to your schedule, to your working patterns for the coming weeks to use those strengths more often? Secondly, what can you do, looking at that schedule, looking at those strengths, to use those strengths for more time overall, increasing the duration? And thirdly, but most important and transformative part of the strength in a trio is what else can we do to get even better at these strengths? Just because they're strengths today doesn't mean they're going to be strengths tomorrow. There could be some new technology, some AI could come in and do it better than us and put our job at question, or our organization into question, and into even administration. You know, we're seeing some of this stuff starting to happen already. Yeah, look, what are our strengths, and you know, what else can we do to get better at them, to use them more often and for more time overall? I can promise you and tell you from my experience, this has worked and made such an impact for so many leaders now around the world, and so many teams and workforces. Because you start with using this as an individual, you see that it works, you get momentum, you see the value of trying to spend that roughly at least 50% of our personal development, our business development time, leveraging those strengths, and 50% focusing on those weaknesses, because those are still risks and threats. I'm not talking about ignoring those completely, but it's about having more balance. Typically, we're doing too much on the weaknesses and we're not leveraging strengths. The other perspective on strengths is that strengths are strengths for a reason. Maybe they come naturally to us. Maybe we find the topics and the themes particularly interesting. We enjoy them. Maybe we're professionally qualified and trained in them. But whatever the reasons are, they are strengths for a reason, which means it's going to be more energizing, more productive to leverage them more. We're going to get bigger gains in our results compared to when we're stuck doing tasks we don't enjoy and we're not particularly good or efficient at. So I really hope this is triggering some things in you. And you know, once you've used this individually, then the next step is, right, well, we do this as a team session, we do this in a workshop, and we maybe get some post-its, some big whiteboards, and we get everyone to pop up on the wall all their strengths, weaknesses, things they don't enjoy, things they do enjoy. And then we work on them, we swap them around, and we help reallocate tasks and activities based on what people's true strengths and enjoyments are. And this is a massive way to cause significant improvement in productivity, employee engagement, staff retention, motivation levels, and so much more. It's very, very simple, but it's very, very effective. Let's move on. Some more practical tips and advice, adding to the strength in the trio. So we've already touched on, you know, it's great to be providing our staff, providing ourselves with things like nutrition advice and knowledge and workshops, mindfulness, education, yoga, all this kind of stuff. This is all great and really important and is part of the solution. But we need to go one big step further than that, and we need to really call out those root causes of work-related stress. And then we need to put proper thinking time, get the right people together in the organization, bring me in if you need that external help and facilitation. And we get all those root causes out, about honest conversations, and then we put together a really positive plan that can help significantly reduce those causes of work-related stress, or ideally prevent all or some of them altogether. And a key part of the answer to that is around employee engagement, employee wellbeing initiatives, productivity skills, time management, culture change, change management skills, improving our leadership ability, improving communication, improving team building. These are all the things that I teach in my workshops and my transformation programs. So that is a massive one, which seems to be very popular when I'm delivering my programs. The next one is also quite popular. What is your WPM, your words per minute when you type? If you don't know, that's cool. That's not an issue. But there are a number of free tools on our good old friend Google. Free tools, and it takes like 60 seconds to learn what your word speed is. When you know your word speed, guess what? There's a whole load of really cost-effective courses online, not my own, done by other experts, and they can cost as little as £50, and they just take 15 minutes a week for 4 to 6 weeks, some of them, and they're teaching you how to practice and get better at your typing speed. Now, when I first did this, I doubled my typing speed within a couple of weeks, and after just like about 2 hours of my time over a few weeks. So you think about how much time we all spend writing emails, writing reports. If we can double our typing speed Wow, that is a massive way to take back more time, to get more done in less time. So if you've never done a speed or touch typing course, or maybe if you have, but it's been a long time since you did it, write this down. This is one of your key takeaways. Next, meeting culture. We touched on this a little bit earlier. I showed you some of the stats about how much of a problem this is, how much it's affecting people's motivation, their productivity, their energy levels. I've been in a lot of these painful meetings. I've seen and heard so many leaders and entrepreneurs talk about their frustration at the lack of quality, the lack of efficiency with the meetings in their organization. I've seen it. It's current. It's here. Everyone is complaining about it. Pretty much everyone anyway. It's a vast majority. So what do we do? Well, no one's really doing much differently. So if this is relevant to you, just write a little comment in the live feed here, or drop me a private message, and I can send you a 2-page PDF. And you don't have to provide your email address or sign up to anything for this. I'm just giving this away. It's a 2-page PDF, and it has 45 really simple, actionable, effectively rules of engagement for having much shorter, better, more efficient, productive, and happier meetings. All of that and the above. And I can tell you this has had so much impact now in a number of organizations, hence I'm keen to give it away and help people with this. So if this is a thing, go and do it. But it's not just with you. You need your colleagues on board. You need the senior leadership on board. This is a change management project, effectively. And you're not going to try and do all the 45 key actions straight away. That's a bit too much, a bit overwhelming. Absolutely have a read of it. But my advice is to minimize overwhelm and to help you get some quicker traction. Just skim read the 2-pager, those 45 bullet points, and just pick out maybe 3 or 4 that really resonate with you. You think they're going to be easiest and quickest to implement. You think they might be the highest impact, and pick those out, and then focus on implementing that within your team, within your direct reports, depending on what your role is, and to call each other out, support and champion each other to implement this and stick and form these new habits over the next 3 to 4 weeks. You will see a very quick improvement in a number of different measures. And then guess what? You can come back to that document and then you can pick out another 3 or 4 and then keep going. So you make it more of a gradual journey, a gradual change, rather than a whole, oh my gosh, we've got 45 action points to finish off and work through here. A bit overwhelming. So that's meetings. It's a massive, massive game changer to free up more time, to reduce one of the biggest causes of work-related stress, but what's actually increasing performance, increasing our success. Then there is what's. Some of you that follow me on social media, or who've been to my events, or some of my been part of my programs, you'll probably be a big fan of the what's already. So, but for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about walks and talks. Action. After today, after this session, before you get busy and forget about it and go into a whole load of other meetings, just spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes looking at your diary, start with next week, and really challenge yourself. Looking at the meetings in your diary, how many of them need to be a Zoom or a video Teams meeting? How many of them need you to really sit at your desk in your home office or in the London office, Dubai office, US office, wherever you are in the world? And how many of these can you then thus switch to a phone call where you and the other person, ideally, the other person on the end of the phone, or it would have been at the end of the video call, can jump on a phone call, give a headset and walk out in a safe environment, maybe a local country park, avoiding busy roads, busy traffic, safety first, of course. And have a screen break, get some fresh air, get some fitness, and do some really great business. Have some really good brainstorming. When I do mine, I have a small pocket-sized notebook and pen. I have it with me just in case I need to stop and write down an idea or write down an action so I don't forget it. So absolutely, we can do more of this. And honestly, it feels so good when you've done it. So start by doing it a couple of times a week and then increase the frequency. This also does work within reason for group meetings as well. You can get one of those conference call lines that you all dial into the same number with a unique PIN number, and you can all go out and get some exercise from all over the world and do some good business at the same time. It can also help slow down the aging process. A whole load of positive benefits of doing this, both performance and health related. So that's a walk and talk, a what. And then the last but not least, thinking about all the other must-have skills that we actually probably know we could be better at them. We know we've not had professional training in them, or maybe it's been a long time since we did and we've fallen back into some old habits. And talking to HR, talking to our C-suite directors, our fellow senior leaders, and making a long-term return on investment decision, investing in ourselves and our colleagues more for the long-term gain and not being short-term cost-focused too much, I should say. Now, the skills I'm talking about, we've touched on a few of them already: team building, employee engagement, culture change, change management, project management skills, Lean Six Sigma, which is great for helping get the most of limited resources and driving continuous improvement. It's a great approach. What else are we talking about? Productivity, performance improvement, problem solving skills, conflict resolution skills, communication skills, stakeholder management, mentoring and coaching skills. These are the things I build into my programs. Surprise, surprise. But also there's more. It doesn't need to cost you anything. If you haven't seen this yet, I've got a really highly rated ebook called The 4 Epic Life Work Effect Pillars of Smarter Hybrid Working. It's free and available to download off my website, darrellwoodhouse.com. In there are more than 50 further simple, actionable pieces of advice. Again, you're not going to try and do them all at once. It's about a half an hour read to get through the whole ebook. Lots of focus on simple, actionable points. And then the advice is to pick out maybe 2 or 3 things that you like the sound of the most, focus on implementing them and making them routine for the next 4 weeks, then come back to the ebook, diarize it, put it as a meeting in your calendar, and then pick another 2, 3, or 4 things. And then you'll see the impact within weeks. It works. It works with reducing stress at work, improving efficiency, improving our productivity and performance, reducing our overworking. It works for all of these things. And then, of course, share it with your colleagues, or let's have a one-to-one and chat about how I can help you with a change program and some training for your colleagues or for your entire workforce. No hard sell, no pressure, but I'm always happy to talk to organizations that are serious about tackling work-related stress, having a happier life-work balance, cutting out the overworking, getting rid of that old traditional, out-of-date rat race, always-on work culture, was actually growing our performance and being more successful. It's a no-brainer. Who would not want this? And this is why life and work and business is really exciting for myself and my team at the moment, because obviously there's a lot of demand for this. And it's a real pleasure to be able to do what I love for a living and to help other people. So I hope you liked those actionable pieces of advice. And that's a good taster to where else I might be able to help in the future. But also I want to give you stuff that you can go and implement and get started on straight away. If you want more, you've got the ebook, and obviously we can one-to-one and talk about stuff as well. So now we're at really good timing, actually. This is going quite well. How about that? Luck's on our side today, and maybe it was a bit of planning. Who knows? Maybe it was my dear friend Russ who's been making sure this all runs swiftly and smoothly for me. Thank you, Russ. But without further ado, it's time to bring you in, Russ. Come and join me for the Q&A. I know you've been keeping an eye on things. Hopefully there's been some positive comments, not too many complaints about some of the advice shared. What have you got?
Some good feedback. We've got some questions here that were sent in before. So should we start with those?
Yeah, fantastic.
With that? So James has asked, where can we access the meeting productivity guide?
Oh, cool. Yeah. If it sounds like a few people want it, then I can attach it I'll put it in a comment post underneath the LinkedIn event page for this. If anyone can't, so I'll pop that on within half an hour of the session today. If anyone can't see or find that, then just send me a private message and I'll send that over to you. Thank you for asking that question, James.
Maggie's put in the chat, Hi, Daryl. Will there be a video available of today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's available for the highest bidder, and we'll start the bids at £100 million. Sorry, my bad dad jokes again. But no, absolutely. With Russ's expertise, we will have that recording available probably sometime this afternoon. We'll publish that online. Again, if anyone can't see it or find it later, just drop me a message and I'll be able to send you a link to that.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So Shay is asking, if you could restart your career 20 years ago,
yeah,
what would you do differently today?
That is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Funny enough, I've had that question asked before, so I've got a fresh answer for that as such. Really, I just wish I knew this stuff about life-work balance, and I wish I'd invested in time management, productivity, decision-making, and communication skills 22 years ago when I started out. I can just now look back all the things I've been through, all the things I've done, some good things, peaks and troughs in my career and in my businesses. I look back and I think, wow, it could have been so much easier, and I could have had a lot more fun, a lot more holidays, and probably been a lot more successful as well without working so much, giving up so much of my work, my life unnecessarily to the corporate employers I used to work for, and then since to my own business. Albeit, obviously, I've massively cut down those working hours since my burnout recovery in 2016, 2017. So it's just getting this knowledge out there that we don't have to work long hours, and we can actually be more successful by having a life-work balance and being smarter about how we use our time.
Good answer. So Michelle has asked, how can we work with you?
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Well, obviously I'm here. I love what I do. I want to help. I've got a whole team behind me as well. So we've got some very scalable e-learning online products and lots of live workshops, programs as well. So there's a whole range of things. Best bet, really, darylwoodhouse.com. You've got some examples of some of our main programs and services there. Watch out for the one under the services menu, the high performance leadership program. That's the one that's really hot right now, because that's where I put all of my best work around all of these topics today. They're all into this 12-week program, and it's only a couple of hours a week of yours and your team's time to learn the new skills and tools, implement them, then come back a week later for some troubleshooting, Q&A, like group coaching, peer-to-peer support, and then we learn a new topic, and then again you go away for a week. While it's fresh in your mind, you go and implement, you see it working, then we come back, and by the end of the 12 weeks, you've massively upskilled as a high performance leader in a whole range of topics to help have that life-work balance whilst taking the business forward in a more robust and more sustainable way. Website, and of course, just let me know if anyone wants to one-to-one, and I'm happy to have a bit of a chat about what your key challenges and priorities are, and we can either recommend something we've already built, or of course we can make something bespoke, but it starts with a conversation.
Great, it's a good answer. So Craig wants to know what your proudest achievement was, Daryl.
Okay, that's a good question. It's quite hard to pick one. I'm going to answer with two. I hope that's okay. First one is a life one. I'm just so proud and thankful that I'm a father of 4 amazing kids. It's a real joy to see them laugh and giggle and have fun with them, and to help develop them into eventually, hopefully happy and successful grown adults. My youngest is 2.5, my eldest is 13. So I think that's probably a life one. And then work one, it's probably the work I've been doing in the last few years since the burnout recovery, since I chose to kind of step up the public speaking and share my story and share some of the ugly parts of that burnout to help raise awareness, and then providing these actionable solutions to help make a real impact on people's lives and their careers and their organizations. It's some of the results that we're getting and the lives that we're impacting, it makes me very proud. So I'd say that's probably my best one.
Ella has asked, why is work burnout so common?
Okay, thank you, Ella. Another good question. Why is it so common? Honestly, I think it's just that it's been a part of a lot of it's been a big part of society, and especially the larger corporate organizations. It's been around for years. This, you've got to work long hours to get ahead. You've got to be the first one in the office and one of the last to leave. You know, you just because your boss and your peer are only taking a 10-minute lunch break, it means you can only take a 10-minute lunch break. It's just it's been there for a while, for decades, if not centuries, as something we've just accepted and not really thought differently or challenged it. It's like we've been stuck in like a hamster wheel, you know. But the good thing is, you know, there's a whole global movement growing now, and success stories for massive organizations as well. I didn't mention this one. This will help with the point. Microsoft Japan, they're one of the best case studies for big organization that we can look to for successes with a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today. And we talked about meeting productivity earlier and how that's such a big cause of inefficiency and work-related stress for workers everywhere. Microsoft Japan, they started off with a 5-week pilot, and they asked everyone to just work maximum 7.5-8 hours for 4 days a week, but still on full pay. And they asked them to do that for 5 weeks. And they gave them a couple of pointers on how they could still get their work done. And one of them was stop doing meetings that are on average over 1 hour long, and don't have any more meetings longer than half an hour. So they just one thing they did differently. And guess what? Within 5 weeks, productivity went up 40%. Wow. You know, it's amazing. And since this is that, as one example, is a case study that's getting more widely known, it's getting more press coverage, more and more companies now from different industries, small companies, big companies, governments are now testing and adopting this. And of course, you pilot it first, and then if it works, you keep it. Some people, I would say, they're not ready for the 4-day week. That is absolutely fine. That's too big a jump. For most organizations right now, it's actually a case of let's focus on cutting out the evening and weekend working. Let's get to a 5-day week, more like 9 to 5 or whatever our shift patterns might be. And let's see if we can achieve that. Let's see if we like it, see if we see the benefits, see if it works. And then maybe we'll go and try the 4.5-day week or the 4-day week like Microsoft Japan. You know, do it in baby steps, because a lot of people throw that out, our 4-day week. Nah, we've never done it that way. It's not going to work for us. How do you know? Never tried it. But starting with a 5-day week is a great start point. Yeah, do it in baby steps.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's just small tweaks making a huge difference.
Massively.
Like okay, so Nihar wants to know: can we have some work-life balance tips for someone starting a new job? So someone going into a new role.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you, Naya, for asking that question. Actually, no, I remember Naya was one of the messages that came in yesterday in advance. So I love that, planning ahead, brilliant. So actually, I think starting a new job, you know, naturally, a lot of us, and myself included, I can think back in the past, there's a lot of nervousness and anxiety, all new people and new pressures. What's it going to be like? Is the grass going to be greener? What if they don't like me? What if I can't perform in that new job like I did in my last one? All these kind of worries. Imposter syndrome, that one comes up a lot in this type of conversation. So that's kind of a natural reaction, and that's kind of fairly normal for many of us. And that's kind of healthy to an extent, because it means we care, it means we want to perform. But we do need to caveat that and work on our mindset to be excited about that opportunity. This is a white canvas, an opportunity to come into a role and be an even better version of ourselves. And that is a great opportunity to, for example, if we have a habit of overworking, we can start off that new role, fresh, clean slate, and we can start with much clearer boundaries on life-work balance, having a lunch break, you know, using some of the practical advice we shared today, forming these new habits early on, starting as you mean to go on. So Naya, you know, best of luck with that new role. I'm sure it'll be amazing. But if you need any more help or guidance, you know, hopefully you know where to find me.
Sure. He'll find that useful. Jake has written, do you have any tips to disconnect from work while still staying passionate about what one does and not feel guilty enough to overwork oneself?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a good question, that one. Making me work hard today, everyone. Thank you. And we still got a bit of time, so we've probably got time for a couple more questions as well after this one. Where do I start with that one? Can you run the question past me one more time, Miles?
Yeah. Do you have any tips to disconnect from work while staying passionate about what one does and not feel guilty to overwork oneself?
Yeah. Okay.
I think
so I think part of this is going to be working on our own kind of mindset, really. So it's going to be a bit of internal work. I have a very busy brain, so I've always struggled to switch off at night as well. So I do very much relate to this. Things that have helped me at the end of every day, after I've had my switch off time and I'm getting ready for bed, I do my gratitude journal. I do my meditation, my sort of calm down, kind of getting ready for sleep meditation with some breathing exercises. That's really helped me massively, actually, and it massively improved my sleep routine. I stopped waking up feeling so groggy. It's sort of helped with lots of other benefits, really, making me feel fresher, giving me more energy. And then I think everyone's different there, so you have to find what works for you in terms of sleep and wind down, switch off routine. And then I think setting clearer boundaries between when you're at work and when you're in life is a massive one. It's simple, but a lot of people struggle with this. So setting clearer boundaries. It's time to how do you say this? It's time to just stop thinking about work. And initially, that's hard if your brain's already wired to be struggling with switching off. But if you keep being mindful and focus on that, it does get a bit easier. It's because you're retraining your brain to be better at switching that off. And then I think one more piece to help with that one would be probably move this into the gratitude journal piece, but reminding yourself what you've done already that has contributed to your team, to your job that day. And if you've already worked solid for 7.5 hours a day and you've cleared your inbox, you've done some brilliant meetings, they might seem like quite trivial things, but sometimes our wonderful brains need a reminder for the good stuff that we have actually done. We need to give ourselves a pat on the back. Sometimes that's because, unfortunately, some of our bosses, our leaders, because they're also very busy, many of them, they forget to share their appreciation with us as frequently as we might like. So actually, we don't really know if we're doing a good job. So sometimes we have to be our own advocate. So hopefully that helps with just a few little pointers there.
I think that answers the question well. The routine as well, that's a big part. When you talk about the bedtime things you do, that really makes, when you develop that habit every night.
Definitely.
Dan has asked how to get more done in less time whilst driving up employee engagement and performing when leading a team.
Okay, not a big question then, just a small one, Dan. Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
I can read it again if you like.
Yeah, so look, obviously that question came in probably before we'd done this session. So I really truly hope that you can see you can see the links for the different topics today, how they link into part of the answer to a really good question. And it's not necessarily a quick one-off task to kind of fix and improve that. Employee engagement, building a team, being an effective leader, that's a journey. It takes lots of small activities, habits, reminders over a period of time, and it's something we can always get better at. It's a continuous improvement journey as such. But by listening to talks like this, by looking at maybe my programs and other leadership courses, you can further upskill the latest methods, tools and techniques and case studies of what effective leadership looks like, and how do you engage employees, and a lot of it's around like communication skills, confidence is a part of it as well. And actually we have several modules on that in my high performance leadership program as well. So Dan, that might be something we can talk about for yourself and your team.
Have you got time for another question or?
Yes, let's do one more.
Okay.
Let's do one more.
Okay, so Faye has asked, I tend to be a very positive person, but it also means that I can be relied upon a lot. So it's having the awareness of making sure that not too much is being put on me. That's kind of more of a, she's asking for advice around that. I think the perhaps the dependability of her.
Yeah, that's a great question, Faye, and I can relate to that personally as well. And I've seen it many other givers or people pleasers, in other words, as well, who are experienced by that. I think I see lots of benefits of people who want to help and want to serve others and to be a good colleague and a good friend, etc. I think that personally, I think that's the way to be. I think that's great, and I also believe in karma and stuff like this. So I think that's the right thing to do anyway. We give but don't expect anything back as such. And then I think if it's being mindful that if anyone is, let's say, taking advantage of that and they're not perhaps paying it forward to others or back to you, I think then it's about maybe calling that out and having a conversation with them. And just saying, look, I hope you can recognise I've done X, Y, Z, and I'm trying to be really helpful. One, if I could ask a small favour, if you could come and help me on this project, for example, and actually, calling that person out in a really positive way that isn't necessarily accusational or aggressive. So part of that's like, saying no more, where someone's perhaps taking the PISS. And not being afraid to reset the boundaries of how much help you can give and what you're here for and what you're not for. But a bit of communication, stakeholder management coaching could also be a way of giving more sort of hands-on help with that as well, working through some examples and helping you troubleshoot different scenarios.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions today, isn't it?
Brilliant, great, fantastic, amazing. Well, thank you, Russ, again. You're a massive help. Thank you, everyone that's managed to join us live. Well done for making that time. I really hope you enjoyed this. Obviously, a little bit later on, we'll make the recording available online. And of course, anyone who wants that meeting productivity guide, I'll post that in the comments for the event as well, from the LinkedIn events page. If you can't find any of that easily, if you need a reminder of my website for anything like that, just drop me a message on any social media platform, and always happy to meet, talk to people, and embrace this smarter way of living and working where everyone's a winner. Companies make more money, and we can have a happier life without overworking and without having negative health impacts on ourselves for the future. Bye for now.